Hey, everybody. Welcome to Burning Hammer Wrestling. My name is Seth, and this is my buddy Jake.
Hello.
He's sitting in for Dave this week because Dave had a family emergency. He texted me this afternoon, and he said he had to bring someone to the hospital. So we, coincidentally, you thought we were shooting the other show today anyway. So.
That's a fact. Yeah, I was planning to be in the studio today until noon when you were like, no, we recorded last Thursday.
No, we did that.
And yeah, so here we are. Burning Hammer time.
Yeah. So anybody who is a Burning Hammer subscriber or fan, Jake and I do a show that's just like we just kind of dick around.
Pretty much.
It's just kind of like a for fun show. And we've been doing that since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like kind of that was the start of everything really. And then we made the studio, and then, that's why it's called Clear Shots Studio. So you can go to clearshotspodcast.com, or you can just go through, Burning Hammer Wrestling, like go to Clear Shots Studios or whatever. It's all linked together. You'll be able to find it. So if you haven't checked it out, just do it or don't, you know what I mean? That's fine too.
It's definitely,
I get it. I mean,
there's no structure.
We don't really talk about wrestling either on there. So
no, I'm what one would call, I don't know. It's not like I'm not a wrestling fan. And it's
you're
also
like a casual,
I'm like
casual
not
observer
to wrestling. I know a lot of the history of it. I was very, very into it until I'm trying to think when CM Punk initially left. I was out, or it was either when CM Punk left or when Edge had to retire, whichever came first.
Yeah,
is when I kind of checked out. And I usually come back in around this time of year. Conveniently enough, I come back in for the Royal Rumble
around WrestleMania season.
Yeah, like Royal Rumble to WrestleMania is my go-to pretty much. But I love wrestling. I think it's awesome. And when I say I love wrestling, I pretty much mean WWE, WWF.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. And I apologize in advance because I will get some facts hilariously incorrect.
Yeah. Wow, wrestling is a weird thing because, like, people, like, there's, like, a stigma about it, which I think is dying a little now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's partially because, and this was like a big thing when Raw debuted on Netflix. There was a whole this cinematic intro, Triple H talking about how it's about telling a story. Like he basically is like in the post show he was literally just saying we're not hiding what we do anymore. Like this is what we do. We tell stories. There's a baby face, there's a heel, there's heat, there's there's a work, there's a shoot. Like he's basically trying to teach people these terms and make them mainstream terms because they had always been wrestling business terms, behind the scenes type of shit. And I like that approach because, at a certain point it's like we know. We know what's going on. It's sports entertainment. We know why, we understand the art. Like we want to appreciate the art itself versus
you want to. It's the best way to grow it is to be transparent about it and to be educational about it. And it's kind of like night and day coming back. I mean, just like you said, the premiere of Raw on Netflix was it's like a completely new timeline. I mean, compared to like as a kid, the way we had to watch it, the way where there was a weird time growing up where like there was a certain point where if you liked wrestling, you were just like outcasted by a certain percentage of your peers for that reason alone. It was very strange.
Well, also it was cool because like you would see like someone with like a Triple H shirt and you're like, that guy knows what the fuck.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of like it was like in Dungeons and Dragons, they have the thieves' cant that like the language only thieves speak. They have like the wrestlers' cant. I guess that would just be what kayfabe is, where it's just like
yeah. Well, it's interesting the dissolving of there's like a suspension of disbelief, and like they're approaching it like it's a it's a series, which it is. It is
Correct.
a series.
And it's like the last bastion of live theater where the crowd is actually involved with the performances.
Yeah.
Which it's extremely hard to understand that until you've gone to a live wrestling event. And I think I've mentioned this before on the other show, but I've been to lots of different live performances, literally name it, and I've seen a variation or edition of it, and nothing was cooler than just a house show of WWE that I went to. Like, it was just the most... What I love, I guess, what I'll leave off with
the audience participation is a higher level than anything.
Agreed. And what I'll leave off with my little nonsensical rants as I get our my bottle of W here ready is I think what I love the most about wrestling is I love it. I do love it, and it connects to a part of me that nothing else can connect to. Like, you know, when you're watching it and you hear an entrance music or you see a move done, like just before the show started, Seth is like, "You got to see this. This guy just debuted on Raw." And my favorite move, everybody knows this, and Dave is screaming from the mountaintops, "The Canadian Destroyer," because it is. But this is my favorite wrestling move of all time, and I got to see it live reaction. Insane.
Yeah.
And it brings me back to like the first time I saw that as a kid, and I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
this is
a crazy
awesome.
move.
It's like
it's a pile driver, but it's like a modified pile driver, but you have to be in sync and athletic to perform that move. And Penta is
he's the GOAT officially, by the way.
Yeah, he's been very so he's worked like everywhere, like AAA, Lucha Underground, TNA, I think he was in, maybe, I can't remember. AEW he's been in. He's been basically everywhere. So like when he debuted, it was so cool because like everybody knew he was coming, the way they had the teasers and all this stuff. And to my surprise, more people knew who he was than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really cool to see like his family was ringside and they all got to like see the date, because it's like he's an older guy, like he's been working for a long time, so to finally get here is really cool. And he's not like a fluent English speaker, but like that's fine. He's a Mexican luchador, like we understand that.
No,
but
I'm
his
really
debut
excited.
was awesome. And I'll tell you right now, Chad Gable was the perfect guy to put him in the ring with, because Chad Gable is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And he is like, I expect big things from him this year, because I mean, he's just like been kind of under the radar, like underappreciated, but Chad Gable's so good, dude. Like his like disgusted face, like his confused face and shit is like just his like facial expression, his like in-ring ability, like his selling ability is unreal. He makes everyone look good.
Mm-hmm. He's
Dude,
like what they call
he's impressive,
he's a 5-tool guy. Like in MLB, you have a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
what Gable is.
Yeah.
He's just like, if you need him to do anything, you're set. You're fine.
Yeah, and people like criticize, like he's like a Kurt Angle clone or whatever, and it's like, no, not really. It's like, I get it, like, and they do the "you suck" thing now during his entrance, which I love.
I do like that.
But he's just like a perfect like heel, because he's like full of himself and he has like all the makings of a good heel. And he can also be funny, which I think is a huge thing for heels, because like Kurt Angle did that, Austin did that, like The Rock did that, like
HBK.
all when they were, yeah. Triple H was like, DX in general was like a comedy group.
They
in
invented the suck it.
Yeah. And they were great heels. So like, but they were like babyface heels. And that's what that's sort of missing now, but it's not, right? So like, that's hard to explain, but because heels, like everybody understands what a heel is now. So now everyone is a babyface. Like they appreciate how good of a heel they are versus like really hating somebody. You know what I mean? There's not like real hate, like heat against somebody.
Who is the
like Dom
current,
Mysterio?
Yeah,
right.
He's probably
he's got to be
the biggest heel right now,
I would say. And
I can't fucking stand him.
That's exactly what he wants.
Yeah.
And the reason I appreciate him so much is because he's so good at being a scumbag pile of shit.
Big time.
And that's the goal. and I think that's the difference is like now we're looking at it as like how well are they playing these characters versus like acting like they are this person, and like it's weird that it's much better to blur the lines between reality. Like they're very clear about when they blur the lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole Seth Rollins CM Punk thing, that promo before their match on the first Netflix Raw, you could tell that like some of it was driven by real life scenario, and that's perfect. That's what you want. You want it to be somewhere in between a work and a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just love the way they're approaching this. I literally was like, I stopped watching wrestling for a while, and then I stopped watching like after Daniel Bryan's championship run, and then
that would have been right before the Shield, right? Because I missed the Shield. By the time
around
I
the
tuned
same
back
time.
in, the Shield had disbanded.
Yeah, it was around the same time. So like Daniel Bryan's run would be like
that was against
16 or 17 maybe.
It was a triple threat. It was
remember.
him, Batista, and Randy Orton, right? Was that
That was
the Yes movement?
Yeah, that was the big thing. Was like that was.
I think it was earlier than that. I was in high
the
school.
Yes movement was huge because it showed that the internet and the fans can completely change the way the story's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the first times that happened, like, on that scale. But you saw it happen with Cody Rhodes a year ago. And that's one thing that's huge. It's like the fan participation, not only in the crowd, but like also online.
Just in general.
Just their voice is actually heard now, and Triple H is so good about it that, even Cena was like alluding to it last time he was in the, when he showed up a couple weeks ago. He was talking about how, it's kind of up in the post fight, the post show conference. He was very like candid about how he really is like, if the fans want me to win another world championship and break the record, that's what happens. But it's up to them. It's not up to, you know what I mean? And he was very upfront about that. And that's cool because I think a lot of people do want to see that happen. But he knows he doesn't want to also like upstage a lot of the young talent. But it's his last year, it's his last run. It's like, I think it's a good move to give him the title, even if he holds it for a month or whatever.
Who do you...
He would have to beat Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Well, he would have to. Well, I guess.
Well, he would have to win the Rumble, right?
Well, he can win the Elimination Chamber, or he could win the Rumble, or win the Money in the Bank.
Gotcha. And what I was going to say was, who do you think if it isn't Cena? It's going to be Cena, probably, like pretty much guaranteed
to win the Rumble.
To probably fight or to go for the belt. Do you say fight for the belt?
Well. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Compete? That doesn't sound as cool.
Yeah, I guess you would say fight for the... Yeah, I don't never really
fight for the title.
That. But I think that's... Yeah, I think that's the way to... I really would like to see Cena break it. Just because I think he's a bigger...
He's the biggest ever.
It's like Flair is a huge name. Like Ric Flair is a huge name.
Yeah.
But records are meant to be broken. So it's like, let's break it. Like,
exactly. Like Ric Flair had to take the record.
Ric Flair isn't going to take the hit. You know what I mean? Like
he's going to be fine.
He's not. Yeah. Everybody knows Ric Flair. They're still going to know who he is.
But it's like,
it's not going to hurt his legacy.
Who did Ric Flair take the record from? Like somebody always loses the record. You know what I mean? And then after Cena takes it, it's going to be.
I actually don't know that.
It's going to be Penta.
Who he overtook at the time. There's a bunch of guys that, Orton's got a bunch of world titles, and it's like there's a lot of guys. Triple H. I mean, there's a ton of guys that have had. It's got to be probably like Hulk Hogan,
right?
I don't think Hogan had a lot of them. He had long reigns. I think Hogan, like
The Rock.
There's like a thread on Reddit that was going around. It was.
I bet it was. You know what? I bet bet it was. Sorry, I cut you off, but I think it was Shawn Michaels.
Well, Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
well,
Shawn Michaels was after.
He
Ric
would have been
Flair.
afterwards.
Never mind.
It would have been probably. If I had to guess, I would say it might have been Hogan at the time, or like somebody like Bob Backlund or like
because Andre the Giant was a guy that he also had long reigns. He didn't have multiple reigns. What's more impressive, multiple reigns or longer reigns? In your opinion,
it's hard to say because like Cena and Roman Reigns both had really long title reigns, and I don't know. It depends, like, because it's like your longevity. If you can have a long title reign like that, it shows that they really trust you, and they believe that you can carry the brand for that long. I think when the title gets dropped, you know, it creates excitement for matches on one hand, but like it also there's a power imbalance. Like in the Attitude Era, it was between Austin and The Rock, and it's like there was never Austin didn't have like a long title reign. The Rock didn't have a long title reign. It was like they would sort of trade off, and that's what made you want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Is like you didn't really know. Like I don't know. It really is hard to say. But there's records to be broken in that respect too, you know. Like who has obviously Roman has the longest reign right now, I believe.
I think you're right.
I think that's the record. I don't know. It's actually a good question. But it was a 1,316 days, something like that.
It's funny how it seems like Roman Reigns, and maybe this is just how a lot of careers go, especially for somebody that's just a number one Hall of Fame, guy like Roman Reigns. He's going to retire. He'll be in the Hall of Fame 30 seconds later type thing. It's funny how great he is and has been and will probably continue to be at like just constantly having my opinion flip on him, where it's like I loved him in the beginning with the Shield, hated him when he split it up, loved him when he started getting good, hated him when he started getting too good, and then really loved him when he was like, oh, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those.
That's what's huge about, like, so that's why these guys get such long reigns, is because they draw heat and they have like rabid fans. So Cena, there was always, let's go Cena sucks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's the polar opposites, and Roman had the same thing, and I think that's why they had such long reigns. But then you also have like, I think dropping the title is good for character development in a lot of ways. I think like if you look at like Seth Rollins, or you look at guys that have dropped the title a bunch of times, it's like they're able to fluidly become a babyface whenever they want or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know. I think that's a huge difference there. But some guys just have this thing where they're just, the polarity is there and people love them or hate them. And I think that's what the brand likes. Yeah. So they strap that gold with the W on it, they put that over your shoulder. They want you to be the ambassador. It's an interesting conversation there. But so yeah, Penta debuts, super, super cool. I was happy to see him because I loved Lucha Underground. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, I thought it was
pretty peak. I'm not gonna lie.
It's one of the best wrestling shows I've ever seen. I mean, it was just absolutely fucking awesome. Because it was just the way that it was presented. It was like an underground, like a luchador wrestling federation. And it was like the way they shot all their vignettes was like very cinematic, and it felt like a cheesy action movie at times. It was really cool.
And a soap opera. Like it felt like you were watching a telenovela.
It was great. Yeah. And the character development was cool. And I just wish it lasted longer because there was a lot of lore that was never explored, and that sucks. Mm-hmm. Great matches on that show. and Penta was part of a lot of them. So, it's just sweet to see him show up. I'm glad that they're like allowing him to do some of these moves, because like WWE's they've been, at least the last 20 years or so, they've been pretty restrictive on certain moves, but they're just letting him go. Like he's hitting package pile drivers and shit. So that's cool. Which is also kind of weird because they were like, hey, Kevin Owens, hit a pile driver on people and it'll be like this banned move, and it'll be like, so, everybody will be terrified of it. And then meanwhile they go, hey, Penta, get in there, and then he fucking Canadian destroyers a guy and hits him with a fucking, I mean,
that's like if you had like the first guy to ever hit, like if you had Tony Hawk hit a 900 and then right after that somebody hit a 1080.
Yeah. Hits a 901.
The whole crowd goes from Tony Hawk to Ike Blackenberg because that's the name I came up with. Oh man.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. And
so you watched the first Raw on Netflix?
Yes, I missed this last one. We didn't get together because of the weather. So
because you guys are watching. Do you watch with Dave?
Mm-hmm.
So you watch with that group on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch everything like live, or I fall asleep during it and then watch it at work the next day.
Yeah, and when I say that I go over and I watch wrestling with Dave and that crew, it's usually they all watch wrestling and I sit in the recliner and am on my laptop playing Resident Evil
or Balatro
or something. Or what Pokemon Red, but whatever.
So like it's like wrestling. Peripherally watching, hearing.
I'm paying attention most of the time.
Yeah.
Actually, it's always funny because you'll have conversations going, and then they'll point out like when I set the controller down and I start paying attention, everybody else starts to quiet down because they're like, "Oh shit! If Jake's starting to pay attention, this is getting crazy." Or by that point, they're already done talking, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, here we go." But the Rhea Ripley fight or match was absolutely insane. I love her to death. I love her so much. Pretty much every match for both the USA debut on SmackDown and then Raw on Netflix, they were saying beforehand that it was going to be the level of a big pay-per-view show, and it over-delivered on that. It was Was
that the one before the Raw on Netflix? Did they debut on USA?
Yeah, right before.
Okay,
yeah.
Tiffany Stratton won the title.
Yep.
That was
amazing.
Great.
That was amazing.
I said it on the Ring Recap show, but they jackpotted with her.
Mm-hmm.
She is like, she's got it all. She really does, and she's super athletic. She's had the briefcase for like a long time. They're like teasing this, like it's definitely gonna happen. And they did it in a good way where they like had her go after Nia. I'm wondering what the fallout from that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But we have yet to see that. I haven't seen SmackDown. There's the most recent one yet. There's one tomorrow night. Tonight, I guess, as you guys are watching this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think she's great. And then you had the other title. You had another title one too. The women's Intercontinental title, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, Lyra Valkyria won it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she's good too. I really like her. I thought that Chelsea Green winning the the US title, that was a good move too. She's awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah, she is great. I immediately was like, she's awesome as soon as she like took the dumpster bump and stunk for like 2 weeks or whatever. That was great. Yeah, dude, the women's division's great right now.
And it seems like every time the women's division gets brought up, it's like, oh, it's the best it's ever been, which is perfect. I mean, you could say the same thing about the men's, but I actually have been finding myself
it's constantly improving.
Extremely focused on whoever the women's champion is going to be or leading up to.
Yeah, so like I think Liv Morgan is like should still be in a title picture, but like what do you do now? Because you've drawn out this Rhea and Liv thing for so long, and like now it's over. Maybe I don't know, but like how I think they're gonna split Liv and Dom soon. And they're gonna tell that story, like of how that kind of gets fractured by her losing the title. But because I want to see Dom take off. Is where really that's where it's coming from, is a place of I want to see Dom fucking take off. But also I'm worried about Liv, because I think Liv is really good too. So like I want her to be in the picture too. But if you have Rhea holding the title, you can't just keep dealing with, you can't just have those two going back and forth constantly.
Yeah, you can't have like
it's like been like a year and a half or something like that. It's like, we get it.
It ends up being like a Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo situation, where it's like that's the only fight you have for years.
There was let's see. So yeah, speaking of Judgment Day, there's like they're in the clubhouse. It was on Raw this week. They're in the clubhouse, and I didn't even pay attention to the promo because I was too busy like looking at what was in the background. And it was, they had WWE 2K, like the end of the match screen, like the post match screen, where it shows you how many stars the match is. And it had 1 star, and it was Dom standing on the turnbuckle, like as a winner. That was so funny, dude. That is a cool Easter egg. I loved that so much.
That's
so
funny.
Like, yeah, it was a 1-star match. And then I just completely missed the promo. Didn't pay any attention to it. Yeah. And then we had Lyra win the title. That was great. Also, Priest versus Balor. Okay. This was on Raw. It was a street fight, and it was so good. This was a really good match, like surprisingly good Raw match. It was just like a brawl, and it was awesome. I love these street fights, like, because so Dave just had we do a segment called Showdown Swap where we give each other matches to watch for the next episode, and then we talk about them. And he gave me Austin Rock at WrestleMania 17. So I watched it in preparation to talk about it today. I watched it earlier, and that match is just a brawl. And I love that, because you don't need it to be some technical wrestling match. Sometimes you just need it to be, I don't like you, you don't like me, like let's beat the shit out of each other.
You just need a good old fashioned slobber knocker.
And all this storyline with the Judgment Day, like Balor and Priest, that tension between those two, like they kind of both, the idea was like they both thought each other were like trying to be the leader of the Judgment Day, is the way they were like, that's the way they each perceive it. And I think that the culmination of that was nice. That was a great match. I honestly, I'll watch it again probably. But then we had, we'll go back to Raw on Netflix, the first one. So Reigns wins the Ulafala back. And then, so The Rock comes out, and I thought this was an opportunity for them to do something cool. And The Rock has the Ulafala in his hands at one point, and he's standing in front of Roman, and he's just looking at him. The Rock, instead of handing it to him, should have put the thing on. That's what he should have done. And said, I'm the tribal chief now. I'm the final boss. Like, you need to beat me to be the tribal chief. That's what needed to happen. I thought that should have been the move, and I wanted that so bad. But it could still possibly happen, I guess. But that would be a sweet way to take that.
That would have,
because then you get Roman and The Rock anyway. The people, they wanted to do that. That's what they wanted to do last year. And we're coming up on WrestleMania. It would have made a lot of sense to do that. Missed opportunity, I think.
I'm gonna have to agree, big time. Yeah,
the pop would have been crazy.
I was gonna say the pop would have been absolutely insane.
That's a huge show to do it on. First Raw on Netflix. I mean, that would have been so sick.
I actually didn't even think about how much of a missed opportunity it was until just now. It really would have been something else. Because is there any better heel than The Rock? I don't know if there is.
The Rock is a real good, but he's like he's just good. Like,
it's almost like he transcends that debate.
Yeah. Well, when he came back originally, he wasn't going to be a heel.
No,
but they,
that's the way
it's
she
just
goes.
the way it went, and then he fucking ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point where he's like beating the shit out of Cody with a belt in the parking lot and saying the F word and fucking rubbing his blood all over it and shit. Talking about Mama Rhodes. Fucking sick shit.
It's hardcore.
It was
It's
awesome.
hardcore.
That was, and that build was, like I said before, I stopped watching like after the Yes Movement thing and didn't start watching again until all that stuff started happening, like right before The Rock came back.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we started this. So I think The Rock was a huge, huge part of what's been going on here. And obviously Triple H taking over is huge, but I just can't give enough credit to him. He's done such a good job at just saying like we're just gonna be real about what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know what it is. Everybody knows what it is now. Either you're on board or you're not,
Yeah.
That's the way he's presenting it. And
Yeah, you're not going to have any more, you're not going to have any like playground arguments anymore where it's like, you're a loser because you like wrestling. It's like, now it's going to be flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
only going to get bigger, which is
it's so exciting,
crazy,
especially with Netflix. Like their audience just boosted like super, super hard.
I think the thing that gave me the most goosebumps outside of any of the matches was the fact that it's now officially the first time where the entire world gets to watch Raw live simultaneously.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. That part, I mean, I'm getting goose pimples thinking about it. Like that's one of my that's amazing. I mean, just thinking about how even more connected the fan base is going to be now.
It was almost necessary. Like a lot of people don't have cable anymore.
Right.
So it just is what it is. Like you just have to be on a streaming service, and to do it live on there, Netflix has the capability. It was no brainer, dude. That's a no brainer.
No, it's beautiful. So what do we have next?
Well, I don't know actually. I was thinking about AEW the other day and like what they're doing wrong. And I was like, well, the problem with that company is that they want to compete with WWE so bad. Like they want to compete with WWE, but the problem is that shouldn't be their target. They're like a smaller brand. So they should be competing with like TNA and what's the other one that's
Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor, yeah. There's another one that's like Major League Wrestling.
Mm.
It's like those are the promotions you should be competing with. Don't worry about like stepping up and competing with fucking the Goliath right now. It's like beat the sub bosses because WWE is the final boss. It's like you need like you're not in shape to compete with that right now, and that's a tough business model to run because they're paying these guys so much money. They're overpaying their guys, and they want to be a competitor to WWE, but the issue is like WWE's killing it just because they're doing damage to AEW because they're focusing on stories, and they're telling you they're focusing on stories. AEW doesn't want to do that. They want to be about in-ring wrestling. They want to be like, they want to, I don't know. Their whole trope, I guess, is like the matches are great. The in-ring work is great. And it's like, that's fine. I appreciate that too, but when the match doesn't hold any weight and I'm not invested in it, I don't care how many fucking cartwheels and flips you can do. I want to, you know what I mean? I want to care about the match.
At a certain point, it ends up becoming like, why even bother? I could just watch. I'll just watch like 5-star matches online.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not going to give me a story to care about.
Right. It's like with the Balor and Damian Priest. It's like they didn't have to have a 5-star match. They just needed to beat the living shit out of each other, and because of the
'Cause
animosity.
They had to continue the story.
Right.
And that all started with Cody Rhodes' title run, essentially. The whole like finish the story sort of thing.
Yeah. It definitely carried over from that for sure.
Yeah. And like how good is Cody Rhodes, man? Like the fact that he started like he was Stardust, you know?
Yeah, that's tough.
That's wild to me. I love Stardust. I think we both did, but like, goddamn.
I know. I'm waiting for him to, like, what? Yeah, he needs to like bring it back at some point, just for like as a one-off type thing. I'm sure he will. Like enter the Rumble as Stardust or whatever. He should enter twice. That's what he should do.
Well, because
get eliminated as Stardust and then come back out. Or Sami Zayn should come out as fucking
Mick
El
Foley
Generico.
did that, didn't he? Didn't Mick Foley did that?
I think he did do that.
He entered the
Cactus
Royal
Jack
Rumble
and
as
then,
all of his characters.
yeah, he did do that. Yeah, that's what he should do. That would be sweet. You hear Stardust music playing and you're like, what? God, there'd be a huge pop for that.
Oh,
Stardust would be more over than he's ever been.
I was just gonna say he'd get the biggest pop anybody's gotten in years if he came back as Stardust, number 30.
That's a good idea. Just have Cody get eliminated. Yeah, do Cody Rhodes first. Have him get eliminated, and then have him come out as Stardust
At 30. Yeah, that gives him enough time to get dressed and all that.
Yeah. Well, maybe not. There's a lot of makeup. Well, no. Yeah, there's a lot of makeup involved in that. There's probably like 2 hours worth of makeup or some shit he has to do.
Well,
it's a good question. How much like time did Goldust and all those guys? I know Sting was in this chair for a minute, and that's every time. That's crazy.
Yep. And it gets ruined immediately.
Yeah. Which I think is cool.
Yeah.
I think that looks cool. I love when it's like starting to run and like it's broken up and shit towards the end of the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Face paint is like Penta has face paint under his mask. He paints like the kind of like a skull jaw.
Yeah. Sting's I miss Sting, man. Will always be my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, WCW Sting was like, yeah.
We didn't talk about fucking Biker Taker making an appearance.
Yeah.
That was
kind of weird.
A choice, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah,
we all heard his gong, and everybody in the room froze.
Yeah.
Completely still.
Yeah, because it really wasn't expected at all.
You could hear a mouse piss on cotton.
It was a weird time to do
it. And then he comes out on the bike, and immediately we immediately exhaled. And we were like, all right, whatever. Like, all of us checked out for that, like, 40 seconds.
I think he was just giving Rhea the rub, just kind of, I don't know. It was a weird thing.
It was cool,
they wanted him to show up.
But, like, I really wish it was The Undertaker.
Yeah. He'll keep making cameos, though. It's like, I don't know. He likes to be involved. His podcast is great. I listen to that one a lot. It's one of the few wrestling podcasts I could listen to now.
That's the best thing. Like hearing his gong, seeing him appear, lights out, lights up, lights out, lights up. He's gone. I don't know if there's anything cooler, and he can do that forever.
Yeah, because there's a
you can keep the lights off for a while before people start getting annoyed.
You really can. Like, there's like a huge suspension. Like, you could almost get away with like a minute and a half of just darkness and maybe like some purple or whatever. Because if you hit that gong every couple of minutes, how many times could you hit the gong before you stop getting a pop?
What the fuck?
That would be a good experiment.
That's a great question.
They're like
just the longest walkout ever.
13, number 13. And people are still going, yeah.
The arena would just fill up with carbon dioxide and everybody would pass out.
Yeah.
It would take too long. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, there's something cool about the like mythical vibe that the Undertaker had, and like when you look at the gimmick on paper, you're like, this is dumb. Like no one's ever gonna be able to get that over. And then Mark Calloway says, "Hold my urn."
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm glad you said the word mythical because I feel like that's it. It keeps him in that bracket of.
Yeah, it's a supernatural gimmick.
It's a supernatural gimmick, but it's also like it makes every appearance he has seem that more special. It's sort of like whenever you see Michael Jordan on TV nowadays, you feel like you're committing a crime. You know, it's like, wait a minute, am I supposed to be watching this? Am I allowed to watch this? That's God on my TV screen right now. And like that's kind of how I feel whenever I think the Undertaker is probably the only guy that makes me feel that way. Whenever he's on screen, I'm always like, and he's always been like that.
Yeah. It has a larger than life feel to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what they aim for with every character, but to get to that level is just absolutely crazy. He's supposed to be a dead guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's dead already.
You can't hurt him.
And I mean, they did a good job with Kane, and they tried to introduce like he was his brother, and
Kane was like Kane was like the unhinged Undertaker.
Yeah.
He was pure evil, right?
And it was like, it was weird because they made him a demon, basically, is what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an odd contrast, but it was all it obviously worked. Kane was great, but the problem with it is he's always overshadowed by the Undertaker,
Scottie Pippen.
But Kane had a great career, dude, and a long career too.
Mm-hmm.
Then he
Corporate
became
Kane,
Concessions Kane.
Concessions Kane.
Concessions Kane is the best, dude.
The best was like whatever WWE game was out at that time that had you could download all the individual Kanes and put them all in a Royal Rumble together.
Mm-hmm. I like the variants are my favorite shit, like Blue Tista.
Yep. Or like it's always fun having like Surfer Sting with the Crow Sting. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, wait a minute, hang on a second.
Goldberg and Gilbert.
Yeah. Because it's a true talent to have more than one, in-ring persona or character, but it's an even crazier talent to have both of them be.
That's why Mick Foley was so.
I was just about to say, that's why Mick Foley is who he is.
Foley is God.
Because he was effectively what? 4 guys. He was Mick Foley, Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love.
Yeah. It's like, how do you, and all of them are over. Like he could just roll with one of them he could have just been Mankind for his whole career.
He really could have been. Mankind. I mean, and the bumps that he took his whole career, Hall of Fame. Every single one of his bumps.
It's crazy. He can even walk.
You can't make a top 10 list of bumps because they're all just Mick Foley.
It's
bumps.
just a Mick Foley compilation.
Yeah. And they're probably all from the same match. Like,
you
can pick them all out.
Yeah, I like some people that every time I like want to show someone a match, someone who's like not a wrestling fan, it's usually that Hell in a Cell match with the Undertaker.
Yep.
Because it's just crazy, and it shows like how big spots can be, and how like these guys are putting their bodies on the line, and you don't know, like you really don't know, like you're throwing the guy off of the fucking cell through a table. It's like you don't know, he could just land wrong and he's never gonna walk again, but like somehow it just seems to work out. That's just absolutely crazy to me. And like just try going into a ring and just fall backwards and take a regular bump, and it's like that shit hurts. You're gonna be sore for a couple days. Like these guys do it every day.
It's funny because the only other match I can think of that I would also show somebody that has never dipped their toes into wrestling before would be another Mankind match where he beat The Rock for the title, where Stone Cold came in and saved him.
I think that was WrestleMania 8.
It was Raw. He won it on Raw.
Maybe it was,
when Stone Cold came back. And
I was thinking of 18 was Rock and Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they had a match at Mania.
They probably did after the fact, but I know the first time he won it, it was during the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah. Triple H so one of my favorite matches ever. It's probably my second favorite to Taker and Mankind, but it was Triple H and Cactus Jack at Royal Rumble 2000. And that match is just so good because it's like perfect, like right in the pocket of Triple H's prime, like right before he became the Game. So he's still got like the DX vibe, but he's also broken off and gone solo, and he's got Stephanie with him. And then you have Cactus Jack, who's just Cactus Jack. And it's like the match is just perfect because Triple H is fucking brutal in the ring. Like he doesn't play games. He's like not gonna hold back with you, and Mick Foley understands that, but he's one of the guys that's just gonna let you. So it's perfect. Like it's a perfect formula when you have a guy that wants to push the limits and a guy that's gonna let you push the limits. It's fucking great. Mick Foley, man, that dude is man, really, he really is. And he did stand up and shit afterwards. Like the guy, he writes books. Like I don't know, it's crazy. He's had a great career. That dude's fucking
big fan. You can make a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers and it will just be him and his three guys.
It's hard not to put him on, but it isn't because there's so many goddamn good guys.
You can't. That's kind of impossible to do.
Yeah, and it's like, so with wrestling, the difference is you can build these stars. You can build them to be as big as they are. Versus like in the UFC, it's up to them, and they can never really reach that level because you have this like. There's like this grandeur to wrestling, and it's so big, and it's so like it's grand is what it is. There's fireworks during your entrance. It's like
epic.
Yes, it's huge. It's just it's big.
It's like comparing, fucking Harry Potter to Lord of the Rings. It's like high fantasy.
It's a spectacle.
It's a whole spectacle. Yeah. It's perfect. Not disparaging anything smaller than it, but there's levels to it.
Yeah, and like I said, you can just build characters to be that way, and
that's why I think that Mankind versus The Rock on Raw is so important, because it shows not only how important characters can be in the ring, but also outside the ring. Like when Stone Cold comes in, that's probably the loudest pop ever. And then when he actually wins the title, you have the second loudest. You have the loudest pop ever at the time, and then 30 seconds later, it's the actual loudest pop ever.
Yeah.
And that will, I think that helps get the point across to people that are like, oh, how could you care? Or what do you mean that the crowd or the audience is involved? And it's like, no, that's the part of that. The crowd is what makes those moments.
Yeah, they're telling you like this is it. Like, yes, we like this, and they also show you the other end. Like it goes the other way. Like when Undertaker's streak got broken, there was like this silence where like people actually didn't believe that it happened. When Lesnar got a 3 count, like people were literally blown away by it. I remember watching it and like we were like, what is happening? Like, is that actually what happened, or like did something go wrong?
I
think it was a great call. I think I liked the call, but I really, to be honest with you, I would have rather seen Bray Wyatt beat him.
Agreed.
To break the streak. But Lesnar made sense too. They made Lesnar huge. Like they made Lesnar an absolute monster. He already could have been, but it just gave him that extra thing, and it gave Paul Heyman something to talk about too, and it really worked. It really worked well, and it just it's undeniably it worked well because just the fan reaction. And that's a reaction you don't get in anything else.
No.
Nothing else. I've never seen disbelief like that in any other in a sport.
No. There's nothing.
And
just stunned silence.
Well, when Austin and The Rock had their match at 17, when Austin turned heel during the match, Vince McMahon comes out and Austin teams with Vince, and that was crazy because they were arch enemies. Austin always was. I mean, he was anti-establishment, like he was the anti-hero, and he, sold his soul to the devil. I mean, it was fucking. People could not believe that happened, but it was such a big moment. That match was huge, so it was just a cool time for that to happen. And we'll talk about that in 2 weeks because that was Dave's match he gave me. So I have a lot of notes on that match.
Word. I think, and I think about other things that draw me in, and you mentioned Stone Cold, and I think about WrestleMania 30, the whole intro to that with The Rock, Stone Cold, and Hulk Hogan, where he kept calling it the Silver Dome, and then the three of them had beers, and it's like you'll never like you mentioned, you'll never get that, and you don't get that in any other sport, and I really can't. That would be like getting like.
It's hard to get that in movies, though. That kind of emotion,
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get that. It's hard to get that sort of star power that close to each other.
Oh, I think I try to get that. I try to get that.
When you think about it, almost every single WWE performance is an ensemble cast. You're literally, not only are they some of the biggest celebrities in the world, but they're also some of the best athletes in the world, and best actors and actresses.
And I just think it's so hard to be a booker, like to come up with these stories.
Yeah.
And week to week, right? So like I can't even play WWE 2K and like have play like a GM mode and like do well in it, because like you got to know when to like take people out of feuds and like how many matches you can have before it gets stale. Because you look at Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, right? So it's like, how many times can they have a match before we go, we've seen Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, like,
right?
And I think the answer is however many they've had, because I think that's pretty much the end of it right here.
Yeah. Well, especially because isn't Charlotte Flair supposed to come back some
point?
Well,
and that's the thing is with that women's division, it's like you can inject talent right now and make it even crazier, especially with 4 belts floating around. You can put, Becky Lynch can come back. You could have Charlotte come back. You could have Alexa Bliss come back. There's a bunch of people that can just come back and inject more life into this division. But the thing is, like, what's great for them right now is that they can sit at home and the women's division is going to flourish and it's going to get better, and they can just wait it out. They don't have to be there. They can sit at home and Alexa Bliss can be a mom or whatever for however long she wants to do it. And if she wants to come back, she can come back and it'll be huge. And the division's going to be in a better spot than it even was before. And it's always gotten better, right? So like, even when you had like AJ Lee and Paige, their feud was great.
And
that
the Bella sisters, or the Bella
twins. They are thinking about coming back. Or I've seen rumors that they're coming back. That's another thing. It's like you throw them in there. I think what needs to happen is they need some help in the tag department. You don't see a lot of women's tag matches recently, and that needs to happen. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they were trying to crown the minor titles. But I think they've done such a good job with it. And it's great that they put these minor belts in, because minor belts are key. If you can have someone hold like a minor belt, like look at LA Knight right now.
Yeah.
It's like he grabbed that belt, it boosted him, and now he's working with Nakamura. Nakamura's great.
Mm-hmm.
He's holding the title now. It's like you can, it helps you. I mean, think of all the guys that have had, like Chris Jericho. He was an Intercontinental champ so many times. And it's
Like
not
11 times, I think.
And that's great. Like, you don't have to be a world champion. He was, but you don't have to be.
It makes me think of like a guy like Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler.
One of my favorites.
I mean, dude, he was great. He was phenomenal. One of my favorites too. He was so underrated, that guy. Such a shame. So TNA has a contract now. Just today they revealed this. TNA has a contract with WWE. It's like official that talent is going to be intermingling between the two shows, NXT and TNA. So that's like Joe Hendry, Dolph Ziggler. But I'm wondering, like, if they ever took Ziggler and were like, hey, you get to go in the Royal Rumble, do they put Ziggler's, do they go, I'm here to show the
They
world?
have to.
You have to, right? You
have to.
You have to make him Dolph Ziggler. You can't have him come in as Nick Nemeth, because people will know, but like people want to see Dolph Ziggler. But I wish that WWE wasn't so stingy with their names, because I wish that I love the name Dolph Ziggler.
It's fucking great.
And a lot of people hated it. Like, he was a kind of a polarizing character in a weird way.
Oh, big time. I
don't understand why.
I didn't really know. I knew way more people that hated him than loved him. He was more, in my personal experience, he was more polarizing than Cena was.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
like in a way, he was even worse.
That's my favorite type of character.
Yeah,
is the
Two-Face guy.
Yeah, and like over the top, the way they dress too, like a Rollins or like a Shawn Michaels, or I don't know, fucking
Edge. I always loved Edge with the huge, like, the Matrix coat with the double R on the back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I love Dolph Ziggler. Everything about him, dude. He just could go. His motor was fucking incredible. Every match he had was like, it was fast paced. The dude could sell moves. Like, I just didn't understand I don't know what they didn't see in him. Right. And I've never heard anything about him backstage being like toxic, like fucking Hardcore Holly or some shit. It was like he always seemed to be, pretty easy to work with.
I got to see him live when we saw the house show at the not the Carrier Dome, at the On Center. And that was one of the craziest. I cried. First off, I cried like 18 different times at the house show that I went to. Because we saw Cody Rhodes, we saw Dolph Ziggler, Damian Priest.
When was this? It had to have been recent.
It was right before I went to
because Damian
rehab.
Wasn't.
It was like 2 years ago. It would have been March, or no, 3 years ago. Would have been 2 years ago.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Damian Priest.
So March of 23.
He blew up fast.
Yeah, which is crazy because for a lot of the guys and girls, my only frame of reference for them is usually their 2K rating, especially during the time where I wasn't really paying attention. So like Damian Priest, I was like, yeah, he's good, but he's like an 86. And he's like a 91 now.
Yeah, he is. Well, he was a world champ.
Yeah. Which is wild because I never thought that would happen. Speaking of Wild, whatever happened to Zach Wild? That's a guy that I remember being really into for a brief period of time.
Zach Ryder.
Zach Ryder. What
Zach
did I say?
Wild
Zach Wild?
is
Zach Wild's the guitarist. He's the guitarist for
Dude, Zach Ryder was great.
Yeah, what the hell happened to him?
Yeah, he was a character. There's a lot of guys.
I always got him confused with AJ Styles, which I think I just did just now. AJ Styles was this guy.
Yeah.
He's retired?
AJ Styles, wow, I actually don't I don't think he retired. He did disappear though, didn't he?
Maybe he comes back for the Rumble. Because that's where the reason I dial in so hard with the Royal Rumble is because every single number that pops up on the screen is a reminder of why I love the WWE. Because every single time the numbers count down, my mind goes racing and I'm like, oh my God, who is it going to be? And like everybody has their one guy that's like, if this happens, I'm gonna need a new pair of pants. But then in reality, when you really think about it, there's dozens of people that like there's I don't know.
Oh.
For me, Royal Rumble is peak
Well,
peak
yeah,
wrestling
and
for
the
me.
Royal Rumble is great because
For me,
you can have
personally.
returns,
Yeah.
and you can have guys that are older that don't have to work very long.
Yeah.
It's not like your match. So like the match itself is so easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of guys just like
It's everybody just doing
trying
signatures
to
and
push
shit.
a guy over the ropes, and it's like, and then there's a little bit of action between a couple got like maybe 4 guys or whatever in the ring, and then meanwhile there's a guy down in the corner. It's like there's a lot of rest time, you know. So like I think, you know, guys that have retired or just want to come back for one thing, like a one-off appearance, it's a good time for that. And you got 30 slots to do it. So
Yeah.
and you know who's gonna win, like who the last 6 guys are gonna be or whatever. Let you know, the last couple of years it hasn't been a lot of returns.
No.
I do remember I was blown away. I was so excited when I saw the Hardys come back a couple of years ago.
That's probably that's up there with when Edge came back for me. It's those are the two. And I think we actually talked about this on Clear Shots before. But they're the absolute biggest pop you could ever get from me ever would be if Enzo and Cass came back.
Yeah.
That is God, I miss them so much.
Yeah, we talked about
I miss them
recently.
so much, dude. And they're doing great. They're both doing great apparently. They've been
I don't know what Enzo's
together.
doing.
Enzo's being Enzo, guaranteed. I know Big Cass has been sober for a while, which is cool.
Cass has been working with Jericho in AEW.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Jericho's over the hump, unfortunately. Yeah. I kind of would like to see Jericho hang it up, but he's one of my favorites of all time.
Big time.
He's probably my second favorite of all time. I literally once a year watch his debut.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do it like every time we hung out. We would watch his debut.
Let's mix that in.
Like,
it's so fucking good, man.
It's time for Y2J.
It's time for Y2J.
Yeah, man.
That's not actually what happened. That whole thing with the Millennium Clock was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm. And dude, the intro, like hearing his intro song, the fucking jacket he came out with.
I get goosebumps when it says, when this fucking Titantron says Jericho and everybody goes, Gah!
Yeah,
because everybody knows who this guy is.
So my question is,
and they throw him right into The Rock. They throw him right into a feud with The Rock. Back
then, and this is probably an extremely layman question. But how did people know who Jericho was before his debut? Was he in other promotions?
WCW.
He was in WCW.
Yeah, he was big in WCW.
Gotcha. See, that's where like what I said earlier was I only really know mostly WWE and F, and then Sting.
Yeah.
So WCW, I have.
Well, WCW was big for like. So you had like
that was Nitro, right?
Yeah, you had Goldberg, Sting.
Yeah.
You had like the Steiners. Hogan was there. Yeah. You had Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. A lot of those guys were there. They had a lot of good fucking talent over there, and there's a reason that they all went over there, and it's because of the fucking money. And that ended up hurting them too. But it's the same thing that AEW is doing, paying guys too much. It's something that they want talent. And they want to take it from their competition.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. I actually remember watching a video about the Monday Night Wars by Emp Lemon. And it's called There Will Never Ever Be Another Show Like Monday Night Raw. And he talks about how the main reason why WWF won the Monday Night Wars was because Nitro spoiled the end of the match between The Rock and Mankind, and that caused everybody to go, what? And then they switched the channel.
Mm-hmm.
And that fucked
them. Because Eric Bischoff thought that he was, being a smart guy by going, here's all the results of Raw and everything. Here's all of them every single time I come on the air.
Yep.
And then And everybody's going, I have to see that.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean Mankind beat The Rock? What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And it worked a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know.
Well, didn't the WWF show up in a tank? Didn't they show up in a tank?
Triple H
Triple
with
H.
the fucking walkie or whatever.
Like shit.
Yeah,
like
they were
that.
trying to get in. They were trying to get into the arena while they were live, while WCW was live, and they didn't let them in. And I always wondered, like, what would happen if they did. What do you do? Because Triple H said himself, he was like, we didn't have a plan for if we got in. Like, if we got in, it's just like we're on our own and
we're in a tank.
Yeah. So, like, what does happen if they get in there? They got to do something
cool.
Yeah, maybe they shoot the tank. They blow up whatever arena they're in. Yeah, it's cool, like, hearing some of that backstage type of shit. And
well, that's where I really feel like I missed out by being just a handful of years younger than you and Dave, because that's like 5-6 years of context that I'll only be able to get through like analysis and like I'll never have that feeling live. Which,
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty close, but it's not the same, you know?
Yeah, I think, yeah. So there's a lot of guys. So, like, the Attitude Era itself, there's highs and lows, but, like, the highs are fucking highs.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the Attitude Era, like, people look fondly at the Attitude Era, but, like, a lot of that shit was filler. You know, if you go back and watch some of those Raws, you're like, yeah, it's fast paced. Like, the show is fast paced, but, like, it's a lot of the shit's mediocre. You know, people just look fondly at the stars that they had at the time. They just had a huge amount of guys that were just fucking fantastic. Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They had, like, the Austin, the Rock, the fucking Dudley boys, the Hardy boys. Fucking, they really just kind of had the Mankind, Kane, Undertaker, like, the roster.
Yeah.
And they were all sort of in their prime,
Yeah,
and
Eddie
all
Guerrero,
competing.
Chris Benoit. It's almost like how it felt being an NFL fan in like the early 2000s, where you had like fucking Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees.
But
Brett
when you
Favre.
have all these guys around you, it makes you have to be better.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big part of the Attitude Era and the reason they won. I think that's the reason they won the wars.
It almost was like going back to the AEW thing, where like it almost seems like in retrospect, like WCW Nitro was like, we want to just compete with Raw, but then as soon as you slip a little bit, it's gone, dude. It's like a garage door spring. You better duck.
Yeah,
you better duck.
And I think what's great about right now is that everyone backstage knows that the company's growing and it's growing fast, and they all want to be on that fucking train. So it makes all of them work harder, and that's perfect.
Yeah,
because it makes all of them they all want to reach their potential. And you see guys like Gable, you see guys like Gunther, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio. He is going to be around for a long time. Dom is going to be around for a long time. There's just guys that you like see and you're like, this guy's going to be a staple for the next like 20-30 years easy. I wouldn't be surprised if all those guys I just listed are still around, like prominent figures. And it's cool. That's, you know, it's one thing I love about wrestling is you watch some of these guys throughout their whole career, and their career's pretty long, and you watch their growth. I was a kid when I started watching wrestling, so it's like, and then you get the nostalgia of guys that come back that you watched when you were fucking 8 years old.
You think you know me? I see clearly everything. Yeah, man. There's just something about it. I love it. I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I have to, when my next paycheck comes in, I gotta get 2K25. You have 25?
25 is
the newest one.
Oh, it's not out yet.
It's not out yet.
No.
Oh shit.
I have 24.
Okay, so
I don't think 25's out.
I have the last one I played then would be. When did the one guy get? There was the guy that he made all the custom characters or whatever, and he got in trouble with 2K, and everybody made a big stink about it. And then he came back. Was that 24? That's the last one I played.
Yeah, I think so. Or 23, one or the other.
Yeah, because it's one of those games where I'll pick it up and I'll play universe mode. Well, it's just like 2K, NBA 2K. I'll just like, especially now that I'm working again, I'll just be like, oh, I'm going to do a quick universe mode for the next 5 hours and then go to bed. You can churn out a universe mode in 5 hours. You can get bored in 5 hours. And then you just start it up again. That's perfect.
Well, what's cool about universe is like you can make your own shows.
Yeah.
So you can be like, I'm bringing back WCW Nitro or whatever, and I'm putting it on Wednesday nights or whatever. So then you can be like, here's Raw Monday, NXT Tuesday, Wednesday's WCW Nitro, Thursday's fucking AEW or some shit, or just some custom show or whatever the fuck you want it to be.
Yeah, I remember I had set it up so and this one might have been a 2K from a few years ago, but you could turn it was like Tuesday night's main event or whatever they called it.
Saturday night's main event.
Saturday night's main event. Whatever it was.
They're bringing that back. Well, they did already once, but
they had it. Actually, I think that's what the house show we went to was called. It was called Tuesday's main event.
Oh, maybe.
So maybe that's what
they do.
I'm
like
off.
Some of these dark shows where sometimes it's just WWE live. Or...
Yeah, but the one that I would do was like I would have like Raw and SmackDown and NXT just be everybody competing for the titles, and then I would have main event be exclusively where all the title holders will have matches only. So like and then in real life that would not work out very well, but
I think that was actually one of the ways they were doing it when Saturday night's main event was a thing. They would use the weekly shows to build,
and then Saturday night would be the literal main event,
right?
Would be so yeah, maybe that does make more sense. But yeah, so that's the thing I like. Universe mode's cool as hell, so I'm gonna have to do that. Bring Sting back. When
Saturday night's main event was a thing, I was like, that was the 80s. I wasn't even alive, so I really don't know how they were doing it. But
how do you know you weren't alive in the 80s?
What I read, I just don't remember being alive in the 80s.
Fair.
But from what I read, that was the way they were doing it, was building things throughout the week and then having that culmination. But they're trying to bring it back. I don't know if they're doing it once a month or what they're doing, but they did one. And they had Jesse the Body, so that was good.
That's sick.
As long as you have Jesse Ventura, dude. Just have Jesse Ventura all the time. You need him. You need him to be there because he has. I gotta do the fucking voice.
Just a bunch of slack-jawed buddies over here. But yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. I just want him to be on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good on commentary. He's like one of those good heel commentary guys. Paul Heyman was a great commentator.
Is he on NXT now? Cody Graves?
Oh, Graves is well, that's kind of a weird. So Graves right now, I don't know if it's a work or what it is, but he's been going off on socials.
Really?
About how he's not part of the main commentary teams anymore. I think he might be doing. I don't know if he's doing NXT or what he's doing. From what I remember, Booker T was doing NXT, and I don't know who he was doing it with because I haven't watched NXT in a minute, and I would like to. But I can't tell if it's a work or what's going on with that. But Graves has been, he's been around working with WWE. He had a career-ending injury, but they kept him around because he was a good commentator and he's a good presenter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
He's handsome.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was like I guess there's a couple social media posts that I'm just wondering if how real they are. Like if he's just fucking around. or if he's actually or if he's upset about that. But I don't know. You never know nowadays. And you just don't know now.
No.
Especially with the internet, like they can just work you over hard and you just fucking won't know. And I love that. I love that they can blur the lines still.
Mm-hmm.
They can tell you that wrestling is staged. They can tell you that, but they can still fucking work you over, and you won't know. You won't know the difference.
Yeah, now you don't have guys like Tom Segura going, well, it's fake. And you don't have to be like, well, Game of Thrones is fake too. Because now you could be like, no shit.
Yeah, well,
like, no shit, there's fucking some puppet strings going on.
Yeah, already. The people, people know. It's like, I agree with Triple H. It's like, fucking just stop trying to play kayfabe all the time.
I'm going to now.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy about it a lot too, is like pretending.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And playing pretend is fun.
That's what grabs you. So it's like, that was I think that's why I liked it as a kid. It like grabs your imagination.
Mm.
It's almost like a superhero aspect to it.
Big time. No, I legitimately, as a kid and actually still now as an adult, I still considered the Sting, the Crow Sting, to be an actual superhero.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to help.
And there's a teddy bear right outside this door, and that was my guy, dude. I used to suplex him. I hit him with I'm talking rock bottoms. I'm talking people's elbows. He was getting package pile drived. He was getting Cripple Creek fairies. He was getting Crippler cross faces. He was getting,
We were giving him Slim Jim.
We
were giving him some.
I was giving him the business
pulls, dude.
Yeah,
we were getting him some freaking shoulder crunch squeezes. We were getting. We were
giving him Pringle presses. And
yeah, man, we were getting him some Pokemon forearm blisters.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he hit him with the eyebrow stiletto.
That one out there is the second teddy bear, because the other one
is dead.
He didn't make it.
Yeah, he's with the guinea pig.
One too many last rides. Yeah, he took too many, a couple stunners or whatever.
Yeah, he blew it.
He beat me in a couple matches. I'll give him that.
I believe it.
But you gotta build the rivalry. So that's it, I guess. Yeah, we'll talk to everybody in a couple weeks. First, we gotta mention these guys. We didn't really.
I know. I
know you had some of it.
I had some dubby, but I didn't want to step on any toes.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do it over here.
Yeah. Well, usually we mention at the beginning of the show, but it was thrown off because we usually do the dubby thing. We do our showdown swap picks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you can use our promo code ClearShots. You get 10% off. You go to dubby.gg and you place your order. You help us out. And then I don't know. I want to thank my sit-in co-host here.
Of course. I was already planning on being here tonight.
Yeah.
And
we're gonna play some Gauntlet on the arcade machine.
Yep. And tomorrow I don't work. We don't have a full schedule for tomorrow. So, and then it's the weekend, and we're chilling.
Yeah.
So, and plus I was the only one on today. So I bet that there's gonna be some like, hey, you could just kind of sit for a little bit if you want. Maybe you could sit for an extra 10 minutes here or there.
Oh yeah.
Because I was the only one here at work today. And I even learned how to sweep and mop.
Just learned how to sweep and mop. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good knowledge to have.
Yeah, it's good. But
even in your personal life, it's good to have.
No, I got all carpets in my house.
All right. Well,
I can't mop them, but tried. Can't sweep them. Tried.
You can try to sweep them.
I don't know how to clean carpets. We don't have any carpets at the office, so I don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, that's fair.
I gotta figure that out.
It's one of life's greatest mysteries.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks with Dave. And I don't know. That's it. Go check out our show, Clear Shots.
Yeah.
You can find it through the website and all that stuff.
If you enjoyed me in this episode, I promise you won't enjoy me on Clear Shots.
It's gonna be way worse.
It's way worse. I'm unhinged.
Yeah.
I bring out the worst in Seth on that show.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. So
yeah, of course, man. I appreciate you having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, we'll probably should just have you fucking be a guest.
I could third mic it
point.
every now and then, especially now. And actually, I was talking to Dave about this last time we were at Raw, was because I was like, well, this is when I start tuning in again anyway. So
yeah.
pretty much quite literally from Royal Rumble to Mania is the only time I will be the
road to WrestleMania.
The road to WrestleMania, I am the biggest WWE fan in the world, and then I am completely checked out the rest of the year.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do that, and then they like SummerSlam's big, but other than that, some people just watch the PLEs. Only that. They only watch the big shit.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't do it because it doesn't give you the payoff.
No, I can't even really do that. With the UFC, even like I used to just do pay-per-views, but like, man, it's kind of nice to see the up and comers and stuff. So,
yeah, it is.
But yeah. So again, dude, thanks for having me. It was sick. It actually helps me a lot too because it keeps my juices flowing for wrestling season coming up. Road to wrestling.
Cody Rhodes to WrestleMania.
Yeah. Something.
And then
Cody
Stardust
Rhodes.
return at the Royal Rumble.
Yep. Maybe we see Sting.
I don't know if he can walk anymore.
Maybe we see Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, we're gonna see Enzo and Cass.
Maybe
Cass
see...
is definitely locked into the
maybe we see Stacy Keibler. Mickie James came out at the last Women's Royal Rumble, I think, or at least the last. I mean, Mickie James was probably my favorite women's wrestler ever.
Yeah.
But the Great Khali. Is there like there's I'm trying to think of like what are the name, like how many people can we name before we don't get excited about the possibility of them showing up?
I want to see Eugene.
I've been waiting to mention Eugene all episode.
I want to see the fucking Royal Rumble countdown to 0, and then that's what I want.
Triple H.
Triple H.
All right, love you guys. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.